Second part, we're going to learn how to insert text and play around with some of the features with text. So what I'm going to do is, with my catchy headline for my ad, I'm going to use two types of font. Sometimes it's a bit more interesting to actually use two types rather than the same font for the whole ad. So I need to make sure I'm on my text tool here, and when I click on my ad, you'll see that it will add a new text layer. So I'm going to call this Float Away, and I'm going to use lowercase for that second word, and put a space in. So Float Away, and then the lines underneath are going to read with New Bubblemint. But what I want is for that to be a different font, so I'm not going to type that quite yet. You'll notice that the font I have is already set on Cerevic Light Italic, and I'm actually going to leave it on that font style and size and the colour white. The reason why is the word float I've used because of the fact that it's bubble gum, so floating and bubbles kind of go well together. And the text for me is quite light, it is quite floaty, so it kind of matches the wording. So I'm going to leave this font and I'm going to click off the text tool and back on to create my second line, which will be with New Bubblemint. And I'm going to put, actually going to enter that down. I'm going to leave new in capitals. And you'll see that when I've entered down, it's made the gap between my wording really close, but we can adjust that. So if yours is the same as mine, I'll show you how to change that. So first of all, we might change that spacing. So when I click and highlight the words, it allows me to access the character column over here, or icon, which allows me to modify some of the font. Now this one here is the spacing between words. So what I want to do is just play around with this until I'm happy with the gap. So you'll see that this just keeps jotting that word down a little bit lower. I might go to 60, and I'm quite happy with that spacing for now. So I'll just close that menu. And I want to change this font though, because I want it to be a bit more bold and interesting. So if you go to your font menu, and you can scroll down until you kind of find one that looks a bit interesting, because you can see when I scroll, I can see my preview changing on my ad. So I quite like this one, Salon Regular. It's quite a large, bold font. So I'm going to select that one for now. And what I want to do is for these words to be centerized above one another. So I'm going to hit the centerizing button and just use my move tool just to move this more over. So at the moment, all my font is white. It looks quite bland and boring. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to play around with the colors that are inside the font. So with the word Bubblemint, I want that to kind of match the product. So I'm going to make that pink. So with the text tool, I'm just going to highlight the word Bubblemint, and I'm going to go up to my color up here. And again, I'm going to use my eyedropper to select the pink and hit OK. Now I'm going to do the same with the white component with new, but I'm going to make sure I highlight it correctly. There we go. And I'm going to change this to the dark blue. So again, go up to my color swatch, use my eyedropper, click on the dark blue and hit OK. Now I'm just going to change the placement of some of these words and images first to make them have more of a better look. So when I go to my move tool, I'm on with New Bubblemint at the moment. I'm going to go back down to my product layer, and I'm just going to lower this a little bit more. And I'm going to move my font now down towards the object, leave a little bit of a gap, and I need to move Float Away down as well. Okay. If I want to get more of precise lining up, I can actually use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move it down a little bit by little bit, which is sometimes easier than using your mouse. So now I feel like this is reading a lot better. But one thing I'm not quite convinced is that the purple, the pink and the blue is still a little bit tricky to read. So I'm actually going to add a glow around these words to make them stand out more. So I need to make sure I'm on the correct layer. So I need to go to the with new Bubblemint layer. And what I'm going to do is select the effects button again. And I'm going to go for the outer glow. Again, I'm going to move this so that I can see my preview. And at the moment, my color is set to this pale yellow. So I don't want my shadow, my glow to be yellow. I actually want it to kind of match the pink. So I'm going to use my eyedropper and I'm actually going to choose one of the lighter pinks in the product and hit OK. Now I can play around with this with the spread and also the size. And you can see that I can now see that glow. So I kind of just want to get the balance right between the two. So I just kind of drag these up and down until I'm happy with the way that it looks, because I just want it to be really simple to read. Okay, maybe something a bit thinner. So I think I might stick with maybe something along these lines for now. You can always come back and change it, but once you're happy, hit OK. So now I've got my font in and I've added my outer glow. I'm going to make sure I hit the save now, and then you can go on to part 3.